RJ, I've been watching you and Dave's journey for years, right?
Yeah.
Super curious about how you guys even got started. How did this partnership even come together?
Yeah.
How did you even keep it together all these years?
Yeah, and the in business, the hardest ship to sail is a partnership.
Yep.
We say that all the time, but this is what happened. So I just had a really bad business breakup in 2010, and I was wholesaling on my own, and I stumbled upon a package of deals that were rentals, and I sent it out to my list, and it was a landlord that bought it from me, but he said, hey, you know, is there any more of these that you can find? Because before that, it was just straight up wholesaling deals. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, like, find more of these rentals with, you know, with tenants in it? He's like, yes. He's like, this is why. Because what you just sold me, I know I made like 20 grand on this, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tuck this away in my portfolio, and I'm gonna get tax benefits, I'm gonna get all this, you know, the appreciation, the upside, the rents are gonna be increasing. And he, at that point in my real estate career, I had no idea what that was. He basically told me, like, you cannot be selling the golden goose, which is rental properties, because they're going to pay you forever, get all the tax benefits. And I'm like, I got to do something different, right? So in 2012, that something different was I went into my network and I'm like, I got to find private money. I had no private capital at that point. I started picking up the phone and started calling people, and I was already going to an event that year because I had a wholesaling software that I did really well with, and they invited me to this event. I spoke at the event, not anything crazy, but I was a testimonial. Got on this testimonial on the stage, did a testimonial. The guy working in the back of the stage was Dave.
Oh.
We connected from the Ohio connection. He's from Cleveland, I'm from Columbus, and I was telling the story of like how I sold these rentals to this guy. He was like, why don't you just keep it? Right? That was cash flowing like $5K a month. Why don't you keep it? I'm like, I don't have any money, man. Like, I need to like raise private capital. Do you know anybody? He's like, look, I got some money. I got some money that I need to place. Let's do some deals, right? And so we did a deal. We did a duplex, and then I'm like, look, this is what I'm doing. This is, you know, we bought it for super cheap back in Linden when you could just walk up and down and buy stuff for 10K.
Yes, yes.
Put another 5 into it, and now you have a cash flowing rental. So
yes, sir.
We started one duplex. We ended up partnering on it, but it was a test. He wanted to see if like I was going to pay him back, if I was legit. And so from there, we were like, all right, let's look into our network to see who, you know, has more money and capital.
Yeah.
We picked up the phone, we called some lenders out in Arizona, and they're like, I love the numbers. Guys, we are taking a little bit of a risk with you, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna structure it where we get a little bit of equity, you guys get 8% money, and that started that partnership with Dave and I buying rentals. And that first year we bought another package for like 12 properties in the Hilltop.
Come on.
And dude, if anybody knows about that, that's not a good part of town. But we were young, we had hustle, and we were like, we'll make this work. You know? And we were out there, you know, managing these contractors that are hard to manage, writing the leases on the kitchen counters, doing all of this because we needed to know the business. So we learned from like hard knocks, but Dave and I started with just one lender who took a chance on us. We did everything right, we documented everything, and so now we have that experience. And we went from that lender to one of our other bigger lenders from the network, from a CPA. So when you're thinking about like, where's this money gonna come from? Look in your network. Your buyers. Your buyers are, you know, lenders.
I got a lot of,
right? Your CPAs are in front of people that have money. Attorneys, like, you just got to get out there and you show them the numbers. You know, like a lot of wholesalers are good at a very specific thing, which is buying deals. And getting good deals. And you already have one piece of the pie figured out. You just now need to get it in front of people that need your service. There's so much money right there in our environment right now that need your service.
So talk to me about when you and Dave decided to do Flip and Turnkey. It was Turnkey Columbus or something like that. And that's when I was selling you guys some properties. And that's really when I remember when I was more getting started, getting things going in the game. Tell me more about that decision and how that business went, et cetera.
That came about when I bought those properties and we found that landlord that was like, I want more from you guys. That landlord was like, you guys, I don't care how much you make, I'm buying off a cap rate, right? So that whole flipping business, when you can buy at X, do a little bit of renovations, rent it at X, and then sell it on a multiple of like 8 cap or 9 cap, now you know that you can go into this neighborhood and probably pay a little bit more than everybody else and still have that margin of, you know, we're making like 12 to 15K a pop on these. And it's like, how many times can we do this a month? And that's when it came about, this turnkey business. Now, let me tell you the downside of it though. When you do a lot of turnkey flips, you're also selling, again, the golden goose.
Selling away the golden goose.
And so it took us a long time to really build our portfolio.
Yes.
A lot of people's like, man, you've been doing it that long? You only have 500 units? Well, yeah, because we were selling a lot of them. Well, we created this.
But you also
system.
probably wanted 100 grand, 200, whatever it was a month.
Correct. So here's what happened. Out of that, we found out later on that you can actually flip to yourself. That's what we teach today, is this triple entity PYF system where you are the buyer.
Yes.
You're flipping to yourself. You make the money up front.
Yes.
Then you get it stabilized, collect that monthly cash flow.
Yes.
And then you go to banks, right? And the banks will exit you out.
Yes.
Now you have that asset.
Yes.
But what you did, if you structured it correctly, was you don't have to flip it to somebody.
Yes.
You're flipping it to yourself. Okay.
So am I taking a wholesale fee?
You take a wholesale fee.
Okay. So
pay to yourself.
Okay.
You have an entity here that's basically just entity that's not going to own any assets.
Yes.
And then if you decide whether you're flipping it or whether you're buying and holding it, you're inserting an assignment fee. You got to get good deals.
Yes.
We're all wholesalers. We can find good deals.
Yes. Yes.
So you pay yourself up front. That's going to pay for your marketing, your staff. You can eat. You can pay your bills, and then you get the monthly cash flow, right?
Yes.
And then you exit out, and then when you're doing a refinance, you know, you can pull some cash out.
Yes.
So we figured this, and that's how we've been able to scale.
Yes.
And actually do. We closed down the turnkey business, and we're like, look, we're one of the biggest buyers. We have got a lot of relationships.
Yes.
Let's just contact wholesalers. Just do a little bit of marketing.
Yes.
And then now we're flipping to ourselves. So ever since then, that's how it's been.
Do you have any lenders that want to stay in a deal long term, like 10, 20 years, 5 years, versus the short term 12 to 18 month guys? Can you also explain how you develop that relationship versus a 12-month to 18-month type of lender?
Yeah, so with your private capital and private lenders, the thing that happens to them, or that they get stressed out when you give them their money back. Number one, they like it when they're making money, but then they got to place it again. So if you structure it this way, where you give a little bit of equity on the back end and keep them in the deal with their money, they'll give you favorable terms up front.
Okay.
So instead of 8, 9, 10%, you can probably take 6, 5%.
And give them some equity on the back end.
And give them equity in the back end.
What range of equity would you suggest?
So, I mean, I lead with 10%.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Right? Because they're not only getting that monthly interest of, 6, 7, or, 6, and then they're getting a piece of the equity that keeps their money in the deal.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Yeah.
But that's how we structured it. You want to give like that perpetuity, they call it.
Perpetuity.
So they're not always kind of keeping their money in and out and
do they get paid
busy.
every month or every quarter?
So it really depends on what your lender wants.
Okay.
A lot of lenders want the monthly payments. A lot of lenders are used to getting it quarterly.
Okay.
So when you're talking to them, you kind of have to you ask them the questions like, have you done any lending deals? Like, what do you prefer? You want monthly checks? Do you want do you want it wired to your account? Do you want me to send you the check? A lot of our lenders are new, and they like the mailbox money, so we send them a check.
Yeah.
That's how they like it. And then they take a picture of the check.
Yeah.
Then they show their friends.
Yeah.
So I have private lenders that take their checks, put it on their offices, and be like, I didn't make that check. I didn't do any money. I didn't do any work for that money. And they have like checks. So what happens is they're telling their friends that I invest with RJ and Dave. Yeah. And it just, boom, it starts to snowball. I mean, we raised over like $50 million in private capital. That's not an issue anymore. It's just one deal, one lender, get a testimonial, do it again, and do it again.
Have you considered raising a fund?
I'm to the point now where I do, because I want to put my own capital in that fund as well and have skin in the game.
Yes.
But I think it's an evolution. There's a lot of people that do it up front, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
But we never really did it up front. But now we're at that point where it's starting to make sense to do that, because with how our system works, when you have a fund, you're a little bit more in control of where your money goes.
Yes.
How you can pay yourself.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
I suggest it.
So RJ, tell me more about this. You need some water or anything?
Yeah, you got water?
Here you go, bro.
Is that water?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Man, I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, I got you, bro. So, tell me more.
Good?
Tell me more about. All right, so here's where we go.
Yeah.
So, RJ, you're 40 years old now.
Yep.
Having your second child, right? Mm-hmm. You've been in the game for over 15 years now.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the sacrifice, man. The sacrifice. Your buddies out drinking, have a good time. You're doing this, you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're starting a family at 40 years old.
Yeah.
My parents had me when at 37. My dad knows something about sacrifice. Tell me more about your sacrifices. Tell me some of the stories, some of the challenges, some of the things that made it hard, but also makes it rewarding now.
I will, man. It gets me emotional because I tell this story, but I was in a low point. I was in a low point in my career, and when you're just wholesaling, it's just one stream of income. Yeah. And if that's the most dangerous, right? Yeah. One stream of income, the wholesale checks were coming in and out. Like it's like this. It's like a roller coaster. When you get the monthly cash flow from rentals, and you can start paying yourself from that, it's every month. But there was one time in my career where I was literally just waiting for this closing to close, and it was taking like extension after extension after extension, and I'm like, man, I could really use that $9,000 right now. Yeah. Because all my other deals are not deals, and if you're in this business, those not now deals, you really need them to close. Yeah. This is what happens. So I'm like, I need to make something happen. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm gonna be evicted. I'm gonna lose my truck. Yeah. What happened was.
So you were already behind on rent?
Oh yeah. I was like maybe 7 days behind. Okay. And the pressure was on. This is what I did. I ended up finding a deal on Craigslist. Yeah. Okay. I already had like a buyer's list. I just didn't have any deals. I found a deal on Craigslist. And it was a cheap deal in Groveport for $9,600. Needed a lot of work, but if you understand the market back in like 2010 or 11, that's like cheap. Yeah. Groveport now is like pushing 200, right? Easily. For ARVs. Yeah. I got this. It was a wholesaler who got it in contract for a couple $1,000s. I got it in contract from him for $9,000, and then found a buyer. I put it out there for 22, and I negotiated, and this buyer bought it for 16. But what happened was I said, hey man, can I get a little bit more earnest money from you? Yeah. Right? I'm a little behind on bills, and I just flat out asked him, like, hey, can I get like $2,500 now? Yeah. And then the rest you can pay. And he was like, yeah, what you need? This is a great deal. So the buyer ended up getting me $2,500 of earnest money. I used that earnest money to pay some bills, dude. Risky play, but I love it. You had to. Bills. You had to. I'm telling you, like, you gotta hang in there, man. You gotta hang in there in those tough times, because you're gonna be forced to be resourceful. Yeah. It's funny you say this. I always say this to people. When I didn't have money, and when you don't have money, that's when you're the most resourceful. Yeah. Like you said. Like, when you got capital and this and the other, you think one track mind. Yeah. Like when the pressure is on. Yeah. And you have to produce. We all have that innate ability to be creative. That's it. And that's what happened to me that day. I'm like, I don't have anything. What can I do to get a check now? That was the question I asked myself. I'm like, well, earnest money comes really quickly. Yeah. So if I do this and get that and just talk to my buyer, I can probably get a couple $1,000s. I did that in 48 hours.